Shalom. We are in Parashah Mishpatim. That's Mishpat. That means judgments. Now, judgments is basically sharing wisdom with the people, and that's the function of a leader. And whenever there's an issue, confusion, the leader needs to step up and share wisdom to resolve the issue or to provide wisdom to remove any confusion. So that's the premise of this Torah portion. Now what we're going to see here is the theme of leadership. We've got Moshe, 70 elders anointed with the same anointing of Moshe. And then we have them approaching the mountain. Yahweh declared Israel as the kingdom of priests. That is their appointment, and to formalize that appointment, and that's part of Exodus chapter 24, is that Moses wrote down everything that Yahweh told him. He wrote it down in a book, and it's called the Book of the Covenant. Now we have the 10 words. Now we have a Book of the Covenant. And then Moses read the Book of the Covenant in the presence of the congregation. And they confirmed, not once, but twice, we will obey and do everything that Yahweh commanded. So this is prior to the stone tablets. This is the verbal contract where Yahweh spoke, which is one half of the contract, and then the people responded verbally, confirming that. And as a part to seal that contract, there was a burnt offering done, a peace offering done, the blood was sprinkled on the altar, there were two altars of stone, and the blood was sprinkled upon the people. So the covenant was sealed with blood. Same way, going back into Abraham's time, the covenant Yahweh cut with him when Abraham was in deep sleep. There was blood involved, the separation of the animals, and then the pillar of fire. I'm going to call it the pillar of fire, walking in between the pieces. Now yesterday, just on that note of the pillar, I did a quick study based on a question on when does the day begin. And I just went to Genesis 1, verse 3 to 5, and looked at every single word in that group of words that pertain to time in the context of light, darkness, day, night, morning, and evening. And as a result of that, looking at the word light or or, where that word or is found, now that is the light which I discussed in a previous study. That is the light that radiates from Yahweh himself. That's connected to the Aleph. Or is made up of Aleph, Vav, and a Resh. It's the Aleph that provides the light through the medium of a Vav or onto the man or Vav. And then the Resh is the function of a leader. So Resh is part of the word or. And what we saw with the promise given to Abraham is that his generation will be like the stars of heaven. They will be radiating light. And yesterday when I looked at the word or, the gematria of the word means to become light. And it's a process of engaging with Yahweh's word. There's some pain involved, and it's a process that transforms you into light, and that is the stars in heaven. Now those stars in heaven are basically the Resh, which is on the left of Or, which are the leaders, which are the 70 elders, which is the kingdom of priests, the anointed and appointed ones to rule over Yahweh's kingdom here on earth. So that is the process of light is still applicable in this assignment of these leaders. And what we look at now is the contract on how that appointment has been signed and sealed with blood. And blood, of course, is pertaining to life, and life is the life essence. That's a gift from Yahweh. So when something gives it life, it is of value, and it's of greater value than any currency. So it's just sealing the deal with something very valuable. So that's just part of this Torah portion, what we're going to look at. I also looked at a concept that is relating to the word evening, which is the word layil, and the root word of layil is the word lul, and lul means aspiring staircase or a ladder. When we look at the construction of the word lul, it's lamed, vav, lamed. Vav is man, lamed represents the ladder reaching to the top. That's the lamed on the right, lamed at the bottom, which is the ladder that reaches down to the physical, and the vav is the man that is now being elevated, climbing the rungs of this ladder, which is part of the elevation process. So where's the connection with the pillar? Now the pillar, which is pertaining to or, is described as one pillar that can be a darkness to Israel's enemies and be light to Israel, which are Yahweh's people. So the same pillar can be seen from two different point of views, and for us who are Yahweh's people, see it as light, and for the enemies, they see it as darkness, and it's a protection for us. But that pillar is a rotating force. That's where the spiral staircase coming, like a tornado in a bushfire, spinning the flame up high above. It's got an upward thrust and a rotation, and that rotation is where the cycles come into play, which is yesterday's study. The creation of time in relation to the cycles, and the cycles have the group name called Yom, and that's the cycles you engage with, which elevates you on this ladder. But this ladder is a spiraling staircase, or this pillar of fire, and you engage with it, and it purifies you. That's the cleansing process of ore, and it elevates you, transforming you into light, so you can become a resh, very close to the Aleph, very close to Yahweh, becoming a light being, radiating His light. And if you have His light, it means you have got His wisdom, and then you can perform the function of mishpatim, executing the judgments, understanding Yahweh's Torah, and shining light upon every situation, every problem, any question. It can be answered with the anointing of the fire of this pillar, as well as the light that is then cast into the darkness, the void, the gap, or the problem. And that's where we need to get to. We need to be brave enough to step into this flaming tornado in order to be purified and elevated, to become like Yahweh, because He is a consuming fire. And the attribute of a fire, of course, is the other function of the word or, that means to be separate or to separate. And that separation is what we know as set apartness, which pertains to holiness. And that's why fire is similar to the concept of being holy. So that's basically just a bit of a background on what it means to be a judge. What does it mean to be part of the kingdom of priests? What does it mean to be part of the elders? Now we're going to look at a bit more detail Saturday when we look at the council of Elohim and how that fits into the structure and the order of Yahweh's government system within the spiritual in regards to His kingdom, and where do you fit into all of that. So I'll leave you that few thoughts today. I hope you have a lovely day, and if you haven't seen the video yesterday, it's a proper presentation with all the interesting things in there, so have a look at that. You'll find it very interesting. I really enjoyed putting that together because I learned so much. Well, I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll speak to you soon. Shalom.